What are methods in C Sharp? Let's find out in this video. Hey, it's T from the Breakthrough Code channel, where we try and make coding fun and simple to understand. Make sure you stick around to the end of the video because I'm going to show you how to start doing some fun, cool tricks with methods in your code. And here's the bonus for you guys. If you stick around later in this video, I'm going to show you some really cool techniques I utilize when coding methods. So what is a method? Okay, well, a method is a group of statements that together will perform a task. Every C# program will have at least one class with a method called main. Defining a method is declaring the elements of its structure and the syntax as such. Where we have this access specifier, which determines its visibility from other classes. We have the return type, which is the type which will be returned, or the type that will be returned from the method. Okay. For example, we can have an int returned, a string, a class, or even a boolean. Or if there are no return types, we can use the void keyword that represents nothing is going to be returned. The method name, which is its identifier, obviously, it has to be unique to the class, and it's got to be case sensitive, basically. Then we have the parameter list, which basically is the data that can be passed to and in some cases from the method. This indicates the order and type of data that is passed into the method. And it can be optional as well, as in you don't have to pass any parameters into the method, so you can leave this area blank if you so require. And finally, the method body. This is where we stick our instructions that need to be executed when this method is called, or in computer terms, invoked. Sometimes you may also hear people use the term function instead of method. They mean the same thing in C#. In object-oriented programming, method is used, not function. Okay, so let's head over to Visual Studio and let me show you some methods in action. Now, there are two types of methods. There's an instance method and a static method. And the way we use them is different. So here's our main method, obviously, which is a static method, might I add. We want a way to print the numbers up to 30 in the console, okay? So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to create an instance method type, okay? So this method is going to be public, so let's make it public. It's going to have no return type, so we'll say use the void keyword, and we're going to call it print numbers to 30. So that's its method's name. Okay, we're not going to pass any parameters into it, so we'll leave that blank, empty. Okay, and within the method body, okay, we're going to have a for loop, okay, using IntelliSense there, that will execute up until 30, and it should start from 1. Okay, and we are going to print everything that we're going to print I each time the for loop executes. Okay, right, there we go. So that's our first method. Very simple. Okay, but how do we call this method? Well, I did say it was an instance method. Okay, so this basically means I need to create an instance of the program class, which it is contained in, obviously, in order to access this print numbers to 30 method. So I can do that by coming over here and saying program with a capital P, obviously, program. I'm going to say prog is the name, and we're going to go new program. Basically, IntelliSense did it for us. Okay, so so then now I can tap into all the goodies this program class has which includes obviously my print numbers to 30 instance method. So let's have a go at that. So let's type here prog. Okay, and if I press the dot, you can see all the properties this class has, and all the, well, actually, sorry, all the methods it has. And here's the one we're after. We are after the print numbers to 30 method. Okay, when I click that, okay, let's go with that. Cool. So now when I run this, let's see what happens. Okay, it's taken a while to execute that. My computer's being slow today. Okay, cool. So we get all the numbers up until 30 printed out in the console. Great. Cool. Okay, so now what about the static method? Okay, what about that? Well, static methods are not associated with an instance of a class, which basically means if we create another method, a static one this time, obviously, let's do that. So let's go with public, make it public, void. Oh, well, actually, no, we want it to be static. So let's say static void print numbers up to specified. Okay, so let's say, and this in this scenario, we're going to pass in a parameter of type int with, and we're going to call that number. Okay, and then in the method body, okay, we are going to use another for loop, but this time we're going to utilize the number passed in to set that as the maximum value we want this for loop to iterate by. Okay, and we're going to console.write every version of I, basically. Okay, and I think that's pretty much it. Okay, so yeah, so this basically means that it's obviously going to take in a parameter of int, and then we're going to use that there. Okay, so as the maximum amount of times we want this for loop to iterate. Okay, so now when we want to invoke this method, okay, I don't need the instance of this class. I don't need one, so I can just simply go, I can just say program dot, and then you can see everything it's got in there, and what we're looking for is print numbers to specified. Okay, now print numbers to specified is a method that takes in a parameter, so we have to provide a parameter, and it's giving you a clue there. It takes in an int called number. Okay, so it takes an integer type. So let's say we want 20. Okay, and then we finish it off with a semicolon. Okay, so all I need is the class's name, and I am able to access the static method and invoke it. Okay, so let's run that and see what we get. Okay, cool. It's printed from 0 to 20. Well, we kind of wanted it from 1 to 20, so we can change that there, and it should print the numbers 1 to 20. Great, so that's worked perfectly. Okay, but as you also see, I am able to pass in the number. So you saw that there, which was different from the other method we created where we didn't need to pass in a parameter, but this one we did. Okay, cool. So now for the cool trick that I want to share with you. Sometimes when you're coding, you're going to want to break things out into little chunks so that they are easier to understand. So say we have a scenario like this. Okay, so I want two numbers. So let's get rid of this. Control Z, control. Get rid of all this in my main method. Okay, let's create a number, int A, which is 5. Okay, and int B, which is 5 as well. Why not? Okay, cool. And we want to add those numbers together and get a result variable. So int result, if I can spell result correctly, equals A plus B. Thank you. And then we want to print that to the console. Okay, cool. Right, so what if I wanted to break this up into a method so that, you know, maybe I wanted to use it again in the future. So let's so I want to basically want to get this out of here and put it in its own method, similar to the way I did with these methods, right? Okay, so it just adds a method that basically adds these two numbers together and returns the result of that number. So let's see, I can highlight it. And again, this is a Visual Studio trick. So if you're using Visual Studio as your IDE, then this will work a treat for you. So I'll highlight the area of code, then I right click it, and then there's this option here that says Quick Actions and Refactorings. Okay, so when I click that, it'll give me more options. And what I want is extract method. So let's click that, and then we have a method extracted. So it wants me to give it a name. So let's give it a simple name, add. Okay, and then select enter. Cool. So now we've extracted this method. Okay, it's a private method. It's static. Okay, so meaning that we didn't need an instance to use it. Okay, and it's also showing you that we also didn't need to use the a program name in this context. Okay, because we're within the class. Okay. So I can just call it directly without using the program name. Okay, then it's static. It returns an integer. So we've got the return type that it's returning. It takes in two parameters, both of them integer. Okay, and we're using the return keyword to say that it's going to return a result, and what it's returning is A plus B. Okay, so when we execute this, we should get a result of 10 printed to the console. Great. Okay, so that's this really cool trick that I utilize a lot in when I'm developing and I'm writing lots of code, and I'm like, oh, I want to break this out. Let me right click on that and refactor that out with the extract method functionality in Visual Studio. So that's really cool. Anyway, hopefully you guys find that helpful and it saves you as much time as it does for me. Please like, comment and subscribe if you enjoyed this video or learned something, and make sure to check out the next video on the playlist on my channel. Peace, guys.